Okay, everyone, welcome back. This is the second part of this project or case study that we are going to actually put a texture on the 3D model we just built from the previous class. And I think you'll be really enjoying this. All right, let's get started. And let's go to the shading tab. And for this purpose, if you have watched the previous case study, you know in this step, we are not really tweaking every details of the textures and trying to make it looks perfect. In this phase, we are just going to apply some basic, basically just blocking out the textures according to the reference image. And we are just going to adding a quick HDRI image to getting the lighting correct. So I'm gonna hit the background and hit Control T to adding a environment texture, and then open a HDRI. You can use any HDRI. I'm just gonna pick one that I often use, and we go to the shading mode. And by default, all of these 3D parts already has kind of like a matte texture, but it's not really on. So what we can do, we can actually start manipulating and to do it properly. And for this, I'm going to drag this empty reference image, hit GX, just kind of drag it over here, and I'm gonna change the opacity to kind of make it look brighter now. So I can have a pretty good visual representation of what the product looks like, and that works for me. Sometimes you can just drag another window to put a reference image in there, but in this case, yeah, and that works just fine for me. And here, what we can do next, we are just going to start texturing each part, and let's get started. So as you can see, it's a mechanical pencil. Basically the body, everything is kind of plastic, and this is kind of metal look, but I think probably the real product is not really a metal. I think this grip is supposed to be metal, and they need to be sharp and rough and for a better grip. And I think these are just kind of pretty general metal that we can build. This is more like plastic, but it has a shiny metal coating, so we just probably gonna build it with that as a metal. First of all, so we can do one thing for sure. This HB is just going to be a black plastic. I'm gonna select that and adding that new materials. Definitely I want to rename my material. I can just do HB and black, and quickly added that. The default, you have some setting over here, so I'm actually just going to change the color to black, and I think that the rest of these just leave it there as by now. Okay, again, we're trying to block out the majority of the texture. So for this reference image, actually, if you really look into the real physical, not physical, the actual picture of this product, actually they have some kind of details on the body, but from previous tutorials I didn't do that. I would just say I forgot to do that. So in this video I'm going to add some details on there now, so you want to see what's going on now, but let me show you what we are missing. So let me go to the solid mode. I'm actually gonna get some loop cut for sure. Alt Z. Oh, sorry. Let me turn on the shortcut key for you guys. Okay, cool. And then let me cut some loops over here to getting things properly separate. I think around here we are starting having that texture. It's not really, doesn't need to be matched perfectly. If you do it yourself or for clients, you definitely want them to really getting the details correctly. So for this, still for education purpose, so I'm only going to cut it over here about similar height. Okay, but you got the point. All right, see, so and hit 3 to select this face as a loop, right? And then one of the tricks for that is what we want to adding some faces between each and to getting some texture on it. So we need to deselect every other faces. We don't want to continue to select the entire loop and surface. So what we can do is one trick, so we can go after selecting this face, we can go to actually select, and we have a checker deselect. Okay, see, now you can see what I mean. Now it's going to deselect some part of the body, and it's going to looks pretty nice. We want to have this texture, and then we want to insert all these face towards to the inside the core a little bit, just adding some texture. So what we can do next is going to right click and to see extrude face along normals. Normal means the face direction. So if you can see, I'm actually extruding out, but I want to extrude in a little bit. See, because we have subsurface modifier plays on, so you can see on the edge of that is not looking very nice, but you see we are getting some texture going in now. So what we can do here, we can actually just, since we are here, we can creating another extrude and to adding some support loop and to do that. So let's do it again. Extrude face along normals, and then do that inside just tiny bit, because we're gonna make this loop support, make this kind of extrude part of extrusion to be a support loop. So now it should be looking good. All right. Yeah, of course, it's not really looking good because we need a support loop over here to getting that corner done. So what we can do, we can hit R, we can deselect, and hit R and do drag a loop cut up here, and R to drag another one down here, because it's in the part of this grip, so I didn't do too much on that. So it should be fine. It's just adding another layer of details on that, on your mesh. And of course, like I said, you can still adding one more loops cut like they here to getting stuff done and neat, to getting that tight. Well, I don't think we need to do that, but I just want to show you it's available to do so. You know what, since I'm here, I'm just going to quickly add that loop cut in here. So Control R, hit that, right click, and then Control B and bevel. And that's just kind of a quick way to adding a loop cut, support loop. Kind of is my trick that I often use. And because adding a loop cut is default, it's going to be added in the center. And then if you do bevel that, it's actually perfectly matched on that. And let me turn off the reference image. You see, they were just getting some of that over here. That's why some of the loop cuts I really want added on. It takes forever to kind of get the geometry perfectly done on the upside. So I'm just probably just going to adding another loop cut. Support loops up here to getting a little bit tighter. I think that should be fine, because the level of details should be fine with this model. Yeah. So the actual pencil has this something like that, based on the reference image, because right now it's a pretty low resolution, but I know it's there. Okay, and cool. So, and let's do a quick adjustment on here as well. To hit I, and also the reference image right now is kind of too bright. What I'm trying to do is tidying up the top part. So I'm just going to kind of close that and select the loop and scale down a little bit and grab that. Yeah, so make it look much better, and it's not that loose compared to what we had before. So let's do some minor adjustment. Yeah, it's a lot of time, to be honest with you. It's a lot of time is just about tweaking and to getting things right, and a lot of details that probably not going to show too much, but if you have time and energy trying to get it right, it's always going to come out with good result. Okay, so far we kind of fixed some small things we left from the modeling. Now we can go to the shading tab to continue to do adding our texture on. All right, go to the shading mode, and we have that thing done. So we are definitely gonna create a default plastic materials for the body and everything. So let's do that. So I'm gonna hit new, and I can just say white plastic. And because of plastic, usually is not that rough, so I'm just going to put it very all the way down, kind of like 0.1 should be fine, I think. And the specular is more, it means more like a highlight type of thing, because yeah, it's supposed to be that, but you don't want to put too much on it. It's actually going to make your material looks very cheap, unless it's just a cheap materials. But for this purpose, I just want to make it look so nice. For the body, we can actually sync. For the body, we can actually sync the materials as the cap. Okay, so I can just do that. Pick through the white plastic. However, when you notice down here was actually have some kind of a metal type of a matte gray color, so we will need to change that accordingly. So how can I do that? And you can actually, there are couple ways to do that. You can, if I go into the mesh, you can actually separate this thing as a new mesh and do new materials to do accordingly to adding some new materials for that. Or you can just kind of adding a loop cut here, and we can just insert another textures within same mesh or same part, and we can do that in Blender as well. So let's go to the material properties. You can see here right now this body is being selected. It has a primary materials. If I'm adding a plus, then you can see here's a slot 2. I'm actually adding another materials within this mesh. So what I can do here, I'm going to the edit mode, hit the tab, and hit Alt Z, and I'm actually just going to select this part, right? Select this part of the body, and then assign a different materials. Before I do that, I wanted to create that materials, and I can just say matte gray, metal gray, or whatever. Yeah, this doesn't really matter your names probably or anything, but as long as you know it is different material. So for this guy, definitely is a kind of a metal type of look, so I'm gonna do that. And then matte, I will say probably a little bit higher than that. And let's go assign. And now if I'm tap out the edit mode, it's supposed to apply it on it. Okay, let's go here. You see, we got something going on. So now in this case, I'm actually can start tweaking on this matte materials. It looks pretty dark. It's probably because it's too smooth, and I can actually kind of get that smoothing bump up a little bit. You see, it's kind of pretty similar. And again, we will tweaking a lot of details when we actually doing the final lighting and the stage and styling process, which is going to happen in the next videos. I'm going to produce that and for you. Okay, so far I think it's good, and the body is staying with the plastic, and this is the tips, and we are going to do that. If you notice that it seems like they're similar, but if you ever use a mechanical pencil, this part usually is the metal, and it's not a plastic. So what I know is I'm actually just gonna build different materials for this part, not exactly using the one we use. We can just do a new one and tip metal. Yeah, please forgive me. Forgive my English spelling and everything. It's not my first language. I'm trying to get it better, of course, and we can just do that, the metal. And also because the lighting, everything is not gonna look exactly like that, but we are getting on the right track. So getting some of that roughness, just kind of put it down here. We will finish that. We're getting it better when we do actual lighting. And for this part, the pin, I would say the pin is really close to the tips, kind of like materials. So what I can do, I can just pick through here for the tip metal. But the problem is that you can see there's a number in here. If I change anything over here, it actually changed every part of this mesh with that material. So because it has two, so what I want to do, I want to separate this. So whenever I adjusting this, and only affecting on this certain part of the material, make it separately. Let's do hit number, and then you get a tip metal 001. That's just adding a different name. I don't want that. I was just gonna change that pin. Yeah, pin. That was pink. I know. Pin metal. Okay, so I have that. So it definitely will have something going on here, and yeah. So we got some majority of the stuff blocking it out, right? Yeah, not yet. Here is the block one. The grip one. So this is a little bit tricky than the others because you see there's a certain texture on it, and also within that we have two different textures on it, right? It's just like what we did for the body. So we can use the same method to get that done. So how can we get this texture in? Well, this is where's the displacement map shine. Okay, let's get started. Do that. New materials. Let's do what we called grip. And now I'm going to bring a displacement map to actually getting this texture in. So before doing that, I want to have like similar texture of this metal first before I bring any materials or patterns in. So definitely it's a metal, and okay, and you can see that it's pretty close, but it's not that rough. The roughness is coming actually from the pattern, the texture. So I'm just gonna quickly do that, and okay, I think so far it's fine. And then what I'm going to do now is adding a displacement map. Hit Shift A, and do a image texture. Okay, and open. Finding the Blender that the texture built in. And by the way, these maps already put in put a download links in the description section, so you're feel free to download them and do that yourself. Okay, so what is the displacement map? It looks like this, right? Tiny bit squared things. I know it doesn't go that way, but we will change that. All right, and one thing you need to pay attention for the displacement map is basically what is trying to getting the textures with some different geometry shapes according to an image texture. You will see what I mean. So now a couple of things that we want to do is we want to change the color space from sRGB to non-color. It used to call non-color data, but yes, this is non-color. And basically how a Blender texture works, shader node editor works is you need to have certain channel to connect with each other, right? Yellow goes to yellow, yellow goes to yellow, gray to go to gray. So as you can see here, the displacement map right here is a purple. We only have these two colors. It doesn't communicate. It's like you're talking to someone, you need to have a translator. So what is the translator? The translator is called displacement node. Okay, so what we can do here, we can just kind of plug the color to the height and plug here to displacement. And if we come out in here, ooh, you see that? That's kind of like, ooh, it's not a feeling great sense of a feeling, but it actually is seeing, it's actually applied on there. You can see that the roughness is being applied over there. So what we can do next, I think this is kind of distortion going on with that, because one of the reasons we didn't unwrap this material, this mesh. So what we can do here, we are going to unwrap this whole thing. All right, let me shut down this thing. We didn't need that. Once we are select this part, another trick that I often use the slash, a backslash on the number key. I push that, I can kind of zoom locally, and if I hit Control spacebar and even bigger, so you have more room to work along with this tiny bit of window. Okay, if you don't have a lot of multiple monitors, this is the best way to utilize the space. So we are going in with this grip now. So basically, what is UV map unwrap is you are cutting, do some scissor, some cutting loops going on with this texture, and then you unwrap this 3D surface into a 2D. So that's kind of like a little bit tricky, but you will know how to do this now. And here, let's do Alt, control this loop, select this loop, and right click. Then we can actually go into the second edge select mode. We can do mark seam. And once it's marked, you will see this red color. All right. And usually, think about it. If you want to unwrap something, you don't want to see the seam line around somewhere. So if I do that, because this is the front view, so I will hold the control and then put type number 1 in my number pad, so I can go to the back view. So another cut I want to have is definitely in the back. All right. So I'm gonna do Alt, select this, and hit, and then right click, hit mark seam. All right, another seams being circled, being highlighted, and then let's do another one. Select that, mark seam. Yep, cool. It's been done. And yeah, you can be a little bit picky on that and be professional. And you can see there's a loops in here. What we can do, we can just deselect, or can select this part all the way up here. Oops. Yeah. I'm just, by the way, I'm holding Shift key to do that, to select the loops. And you can see kind of I'm selecting some of the part that I don't want to do. What I can do is don't do anything, just to hit the B and then middle mouse key or the scroll wheels, and then kind of drag it. And now I think I should be fine. And then hit right click, clear seam. Now, yeah, I think that's what I want. Okay, cool. And let's kind of zoom out using the hit the slash key again on the number pad. Then we are going to have this one back. So next thing is I'm going to the edit mode again and select all, hit A, and unwrap, and hit U and unwrap. So yeah, there's some magic happen, but you won't see what's going on. Let's go to the UV editing. So if you see that, ooh, so this is what the stuff that we have done. We unwrap this grid over here. Okay, so it's just gonna cutting things out. This is what's actually going on. Then now, what's next? Let's see the shading, and now we are actually we can sync the click this to sync which part that we're being selected. So we want to know, okay, what's going on. Okay, I see I'm selecting this part is actually reflecting that. When I'm selecting these, it's actually reflecting the interior of the tube, right, the grip. So what I'm actually focusing on is this part, right, the outside body. So the inside, it doesn't really matter. So another trick that I often use is just, I don't want to use this to sync all the time because sometimes it's just gonna mess up my selections. I just gonna undo that and then hit A to select all, and then I'm just kind of pick this part, and then next thing I'm going to do is Control L to kind of select everything along with it. Because this is the inside of that tube, so it doesn't really affecting anything, I just gonna temporarily put it over here. And for this guy, then I need to kind of grab that over here and to see what's going on. And one of the add-on that I really highly recommend is called a UV squares. So basically, you're just gonna actually getting something nice shape, right? And we can definitely do that. And or if you don't have that, it's still working just fine. This is just gonna make your mesh looks better. And then we are going to kind of turn it around, do that. And also because this grid or supposed to be like a rectangular, supposed to be squares kind of look, but right now it's a rectangular. What we can do, we can actually change the shape of this map, this grid. So hit S and X, so we can make it like look at more, or SY to kind of make it look like bigger. Well, let me see how big this thing is. I don't want it to make this look super dense. I don't think that the actual pen has that much. Let's take a look at the reference image. Let's see. Yeah, let's see that. Yeah, obviously each square so kind of looks too big. So what we can do, we can actually make it look smaller. Yeah. Yeah. So make it smaller just by dragging it up a little bit. Now the next thing will be to kind of, I think this is kind of a square format. Right now we are still have this kind of rectangular shape. Let's do scale along the y-axis, see how it goes. It's just adding more rows of the square. But yeah, it's getting better for sure. And now next thing we're gonna, to make these things twist, so we're gonna turn, and yeah, voila, it's getting the similar shapes. I hit tab to look at it. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's because it's taken a lot of time to do. But so far, I think it should be fine. And we're gonna tweaking more stuff on when we're working with the actual texture, and later on when we're doing the lighting tutorial. Okay, so far so good. And next thing we want to do is these strips. These are pretty smooth strips. What we can do here, we are going to go to the modeling section, and then to kind of just figure out which part is that. And let's grab that, the reference image, hit G along X, sorry, I hit G, X, and it's gonna come back to here. We just want to have ideas going on, and hit, okay, cool. And now we are going to go to the solid mode and X-ray. Of course, it's still too bright. Always. Let's go opacity down here a little bit, and then let's go to the cylinder. Z, and we are just going to adding some geometries accordingly. So we already have some loop cups over here. You see, that's where the smooth part is going to be looks like. So what we can do here, we can just bevel that, right? I always like to bevel using existing geometries. So I'm going to bevel that here. So within that range, right? Within that range, then we have something going on here. So same thing over here. We can utilize this to bevel tiny bit. Select the loop, hit B, Control B in the bevel, and hit that loop, Control B bevel. And now you see we have like 4 strips, 1, 2, 3, 4 ready to go. So the next thing we want to do is to getting these selected. Let's do Control L. Oops. What's going on? Okay, coming back, and Control L to select these, and then now you're gonna hit Shift to continue to do that. And I forgot, because we are really missing another loop cut between those. We cannot really just selecting the faces like that easy. So what we can do here, we can just adding a loop cut, just for the sake of supporting the faces. And now they're much easier. Now we can go to the face, and we are going to do that. So see, this is kind of a challenging stuff going on here, but as always, the good designer or 3D artist are problem solvers, so we got going to do that. Let's see, here it's one face, another one in here. Hit hold on Shift, do that. Okay, Alt, hold on that. Okay, and as you can see, we already selected all these loops that we want to insert, but unfortunately we also selected inside of that. So what we can do here, we can use this, just use the hit the B and the middle mouse to deselect this part. And it's kind of tricky now to see. When you're selecting faces, these points are the main thing that you can see. Here is one tiny point that what's representing the face. So when you select that, so if you don't want, you want to deselect these, we're just gonna do that. Yeah, it's not a really like that super easy and smooth. That's just how the way you're learning things, and the better or the more advanced stuff is actually take longer to produce. It's not something always quick and easy. And if you are very new to the Blender world and or 3D modeling, I would recommend you to kind of really set up the mindset that if you really dedicate to learn, and this is the best way to learn project by project. And also start with something a little bit simpler, and that will give you more confidence to get it started. So now we got this face selected, and again we learned this. We're gonna do the right click and extrude individual face along normal, right? And just kind of get a tiny bit in, just a little bit. Don't overdo it. Okay, I think I should be fine. And because we have the subsurface modifiers applied, so when we do the texture mode, it still looks pretty weird, but we know these things are existing over there. So what we can do here next is we are going to do the tricks again to doing the bevel, right? Control L to select that loops, and Control B, just kind of adding some bevels. Alt click, Control B to bevel. Okay, Alt click, Control B to bevel. Alt click, Control B to bevel. Okay, it just basically is adding some geometries and to support loops to getting that. So now you can see on 3D it looks okay. We can do something about it to adding more support loops. We can do so. Well, you know what? Let's see how it looks like when we actually applying all these things later on. Let's do that. Select that. We are going to adding a second material, right? And after we selecting all these, and you'll see another trick that I use very often is the Control Plus. There we go. That's the exactly loops that faces I want to select. And now we are going to go to the texture material properties, and then we're gonna add another material. So let's go to the UV edit, the shading tabs again. Come back here, then creating a smooth metal. Yeah, it's like I said, it's supposed to be smooth. So we're gonna go to really rough, and then just getting a little bit brighter. Should be fine. And then hit assign. Don't forget that. Then tap it out. Hit the. Ooh, look at that. Okay, so it looks much better than we thought and we're planning. So we are looking good so far. Let's see what we have. Grab the. Yeah, it's coming out a little bit similar, but it's not perfect. Like I said, these are things that you need to tweak quite a lot. And the purpose of this, you're not just to see me how I work, and I want to show you my workflow and to show you what you can do with all these techniques. And definitely, I will spend more time to getting this tweaked perfectly with the UV editings and everything, but that's your part of your homework. You're trying to getting a good model out of it, and all these materials supplied to you, you're supposed to getting really good results. If you see my Instagram posts, these are the model. They are using the rendered I made. That was another different 3D model I built using the same materials and the same displacement map. It works very well, and but this one we're just using for the tutorial demonstration and show you how to get it done. So far I think these are all the basic techniques that I wanted to show you within this videos, and I think you should be ready to go to the next phase after doing this materials and really tweak on your materials when we apply lighting and the style, the stage. And I cannot wait to working on that videos and soon. And again, this is a new video channel, YouTube channel that I try to produce and build. And if you're really into this photorealistic rendering for product, then you're in the right place. Please consider subscribe and hit likes. And also another favor I want to ask you, if you have any topic or things that you think is very interesting to model, to see my workflow, how the results are going to come out, and I would love to hear that. And yeah, I think that's about it. And thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.